Good evening, everyone.
Wow.
Today, before we start, we have a very special guest. Just so you know, this has to be the most expensive talent fee we've given to one of our guests. Actually, hindi nga kami nagbibigyan ng TF. Ito lang talaga yung ano eh. Pero you can never say no to such a legend as himself.
Parang ulat sa kanina.
Wala nang intro. The one and only Wolfcasts.
Hello,
Oh my
boss.
God, naalala ko pa yun. Wolfcast. Shit.
The legendary Facebook page.
The Wolfcast. Yun, again, good evening, everyone. Welcome to ONIC'sclusive. Welcome to our 6th episode or 5th, or if I recall right, 5th. Sorry. Here with us today again, Wolf. Before we start, I'd like to introduce. Would you like to introduce yourself, Bob?
Yeah. Wow. Ako pala si Wolf, caster for MPL and several other esports titles. Pero syempre, mainly sa MPL. Hindi po totoo lahat ng mga sinasabi nila tungkol sa akin. Yung about sa...
Saan?
Dun. Lalong-lalo na yung headline. Unang sentence, pagkakita ko ng share na boss, richest caster. Hindi po totoo yan. Nanggaling lang po.
Ay nga pala. Hindi pala richest person pala.
Yun lang.
The richest talaga. The true.
Alam mo ba, nanggaling yan dahil din dito sa ONIC?
Of course.
Chef Diyos ko.
Siyempre.
Okay, alam mo naman. But yeah, ayun. Hello sa inyo lahat.
Again, hello. Good evening. Thank you for coming. I'm happy that you're here, Coach. It's been a long time since we talked. And it's been a long time since you replied to my messages. Yan.
Wow.
Before anything, guys, I'd just like to give a quick background, right? Matagal ko na actually kasama si Wolf in terms of work. I think we started season 6.
Season 6,
Season 6. So, matagal-tagal na kami nagkakasama. If you wonder na bakit medyo ganun kami or masyadong makulit kami today, that's the reason why. Yeah, nice. Okay. Sige.
Yeah.
Before we get into the nitty-gritty of today's podcast, I was wondering, di ba? I always ask this. And actually, I do know, pero I think not everyone knows. Saan nanggaling yung IGN mo, Coach, na Wolf? Hindi. Saan pala yung nanggaling yung IGN mo ng 8 gahaba pala? Yun na muna. 8G.
So, ano lang to kasi dun sa may era sa mundo ng casting dati nun. Kasama namin sila Manjinto.
Right.
So, nasa may para kaming hindi naman siya bootcamp pero parang ganun na rin na may office pero nag-stay kami late to play some Dota games, syempre.
Right.
Since yung mga names namin nun Wolf, Manjin, ganyan. Parang ang boring na. Kasi IGN lang ganun. Dun sa, may mga kulit-kulitan lang. Actually, nanggaling talaga yung term na Ocho Gaba. Unang narinig yun kay Marlon Marcelo himself.
Right.
Maloko kasi talaga si Boss Lon.
Right.
Parang Ocho Gaba, parang may something basta something like that. Actually, you would think na it's a very alam mo yan,
very
innuendo kind of thing.
Okay.
Pero actually, sukat yun ng kabaong talaga.
Right.
Sa ano siya, kahoy. Sukat talaga siya ng kahoy. Parang,
Right.
gawa ka ng ganito. Parang ganun siya. Measurement talaga siya. Tapos nakakatawa. Talagang ang reason kung ba't ko ginawa yun, kasi nakakatawa pakinggan. Nung time na yun, tawa kami ng tawa. Tapos binago ko yung IGN ko. Tapos para kami may alter ego. Si Manjin, Bobby Tricks yung sa kanya.
Right.
Yung, basta kanya-kanya kaming mga alter ego ng IGN sa Dota kasi you can change it easily back then. And dumating sa point na hindi ko na nabago kasi wala na, nag-enjoy na ako. Tapos yun na, dire-diretso na yun. Iconic na yun. Tapos I think nagamit ko siya sa ML. Tapos parang dumating sa point na no going back na. So parang ginamit ko na siya na parang alter ego.
Right.
Yung pro side ni Wolf ay yung Ocho-G.
Yeah,
yun.
Now that you mentioned that you have an alter ego na Ocho-G. Ngayon, I'm wondering, where did the name Wolf come from? I know this, but syempre there are a lot of people who may not know. It's a pretty good way for them to know.
Yeah. For those who don't know yet, ang ganito kasi back in 2009 nagkaroon ng symptoms, and then 2012 namin
Teka, before that, how old were you noong 2009?
2009? I think I was 14. Ganun.
So, how old are you now?
How old am I now? For 2009? 23.
How old are you now?
23.
Okay. Sige. Huwag lokohan tayo.
We stopped counting after 23.
Okay. Sige.
I have been 23 for quite a long time now.
Okay.
Just kidding. Well, noong 2009, 2012 yung pinaka na-determine namin na meron akong autoimmune disease. So autoimmune disease, guys, is maraming mga ganong klaseng disease. Parang siya, as its name suggests, hindi siya na-cure.
Yeah.
Kasi parang napapalakas na yung sarili niya whatsoever. So I was diagnosed with an autoimmune disease called lupus. So it's SLE. Madaming mga may ganyang sakit din na sikat na tao. I think notable is Ferdinand Marcos actually. And then basta isang presidente. And then si Selena Gomez was also yun yung actually hindi ko kakilala si Selena Gomez kasi hindi yun yung type ng music ko, pero eventually I learned about it. Then ayun, yung sakit na yun, it comes in different ways.
Right.
So para sa akin, nagkakaroon ako ng parang rheuma-like symptoms, which is namamagay kung ano ng joints. And nagkakaroon ako ng rosy cheeks. So mapapansin yung rosy cheeks ako, hindi ibig sabihin na tisoy ako. Parang yun, may sakit ako ng matay na ganun nangyari. So yun, na-diagnose ako nun. Then, at the same time din, kasi nagdodota rin kami ng mga time na yun. Nag-isip kami lahat ng IGN, syempre pa cool. Tapos ako, alam ko na kasi na may sakit ako nun. And I found out that lupus in Latin means wolf. So yung word na lupus in Latin is wolf. Kasi yung nakwento ko kanina nag-rosy cheeks, ang extreme version ng lupus is kapag hindi na attendan is mamumula ng sobra yung magkakaroon ng rash ng sobra sa mukha. Tapos nung mga unang-unang panahon, mukha siyang wolf pag ka. Pag extreme cases.
Right.
So, by the way, I'd like you to look it up para lang mas may aware yung mga tao. Kasi hindi nyo, magugulat kayo na madami pala din tao na may ganun. So, ayun. Ever since noon, parang naisip ko, siguro, gusto kong i-accept. Kasi parang sobrang in denial pa nung una.
Yeah.
Hindi kasi gumagaling yung disease, but parang yun, sabi nga nung ni Tyrion Lannister dun sa Game of Thrones, wear it like armor so it will not be used against you.
Right. Actually, I find
That's
it
it.
interesting, no? You're using like a so-called quote-unquote disadvantage, your advantage. And actually, that's something that you became iconic for. So that's pretty cool, no? I think another thing I want to touch upon, you mentioned a lot about Dota eh. So, my guess is that's where you started, tama ba?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
So, yun talaga yung first love, kumbaga. Siyempre, lumaki tayo lahat sa Dota 1. Tapos, sa Dota 2, fortunately, nagkaroon ako nung beta key kung natatanda mo. Parang yun lang yung access
yun yung
mo sa
access
Dota.
mo. Yeah, beta
Konti
key.
lang yung may beta key nun back when it was cool to have a beta key. So, and Dota rin yung nagulat kasi ko nang nanood ako nung TI3.
Yeah.
I just happened to... Siyempre, nag-Dota lang tayo nun. Actually, kadalasan sa mga Dota players dati, walang pakialam sa pro games
Tama.
Lalo na mga estudyante.
Yeah.
So, nung TI3, napanood ko, nagtaka ako bakit may commentator pa tawag.
Right.
Kasi mahilig ko sa basketball. So, commentator, may play-by-play sila. Tapos, ang talagang nagulat ako, yung nahuhulaan nila yung picks. Yung talaga ako na mind-blown. Sabi ko, that's what I wanted to do. Gusto ko talagang maging caster for Dota nung time na yun. So, yun yung hinabol ko nung mga first few years ko sa esports yun.
Before I get into the questioning, diba? Sino yung bet mo sa TI12?
TI12? Discount? Shucks. Well, never nawala kasi yung puso kay RTZ kaya Shopify. Pero, alam mo yun, yung accepted ko na hindi nila kaya.
Yeah, dude.
So,
He threw Dream League though.
Yeah. Thompson, I'd go yung Tundra. This time. Dahil kay Thompson.
Ako, team spirit.
Well, they're pretty strong. Pretty strong now.
Yeah. Before going back to so you wanted this dream of wanting to be a shoutcaster,
right?
Because you started watching it dito sa TI3.
Yep.
What was your mga first few gigs? Do you remember?
Yeah. I remember. I can fairly remember the very first one, 2016. I think na kwento ko na rin naman to sa iba, pero for the benefit of the other viewers, kasi nakakatawa tong kwento na to.
Right.
2016, nagsusulat na ako as may background isa sa school journalism. So yun yung pinaka-entry ko talaga to esports. So I was contributing sa mineski.net for 2 years now. And then, may mga friends na ako doon, nag-post sila, oy, kailangan namin ng caster. 2016, Boston Major. If you remember, yung may Earthshaker na nag-split push.
Yes.
That
yung
one.
si Adfinem.
Adfinem, yeah. So that guy. So that was that major. Yung Mineski, nagkakas sila ng games ng Dota. Pero kasi pag Dota, typically, baliktad yung time zone natin. Kasi Boston sila
tama.
Wala na silang caster, basically. They only have 2. And they have 12 games to cast.
Yeah. At the time, was it like sina Lon tsaka si Duno?
Nung araw na yon, it was actually just Denki and... Denki. Yes.
Ayaw.
Denki and Duno. Yeah.
Okay, Denki and Duno.
Yeah.
Okay.
So sila lang. Dalawa lang sila. So naisip nila, what if first shift solo ka lang, second shift solo lang ako. Ganun.
Tama.
Because they have to. Because kulang sila. So somebody posted na, oy, what if mag-cast kayo ganyan? Ako naman, nakakita na ako na nag-audition sila dati. Hindi ko lang nagawa kasi parang may work lang ako nung time na yun.
Right.
So, I asked the guy that posted, oy, seryoso ba kayo dito? Kasi parang, alam mo, pa-joke lang.
Yeah.
So, parang sabi nila, oo, pumunta ka na dito ngayon. So, right at then, parang kasi, 9 p.m. ko nakita yung post, 12 yung cast. Kasi, di ba, Boston Major. And, takot na takot pa ako kasi sa Balete Drive yun. Hindi ko alam para pumunta. And, I was really poor back then.
Yeah.
So, kailangan kong umalis na agad nung 9 p.m. na yun. Kasi 9:30 nag-close yung MRT.
Right.
So, I need to catch the MRT. So, no hesitation, punta na ako doon. Then, pagkasundo sa akin, nakaupo na mismo si Denki na nagkakas. As in, may game na nangyayari. Tapos, actually recorded to pag binalikan nyo. Pagdaan ko dun sa pinto, sabi nung kasama ko na kakilala ko na, ito, audition, nandun si Denki. Sabi ni Denki, talaga ba? Sige, upo ka dito. Habang live nangyari yun. May footage pa nun. Pinaupo ako. Tapos, draft nun, sakto. Which is, unprecedented that time. Nobody does analysis nun. Puro hype talaga.
Yeah.
So, nung pagpasok ko doon, ang dala ko agad analysis. So parang shooked lahat. But the funny thing is, dahil hindi sila handa for a duo cast nun, hindi nila na-turn on ng properly yung sa mic. So, hindi narinig yung Pero, si Deki rinig niya yung mga sinasabi ko.
Right.
So, long story short, people got impressed dun sa quote-unquote analysis kahit sobrang hina ng boses ko, sobrang pangit ko mag-project, hiyang-hiya pa ako, natatawag.
Yeah.
So, may callback after. Sabi nila, balik ka tomorrow for
the next day. Actually, you mentioned before that, you had work. Ano yung naging first work mo?
Alam mo yung, nag-ano lang ako nun, Upwork, yung mga...
yung mga like yung freelance.
Yeah.
So, while you're doing Upwork,
ganun,
and then suddenly, nakita mo yung audition, so you decide to go, and then dire-diretso na yun.
Yun na yung audition ko, yung parang salang with Denki.
Okay.
So, I call back
Right. So, how long did you stay sa Dota?
Wow, so... 2016 until... I guess religiously hanggang 2019. Yeah.
Right.
So, nung 2018 kasi dumating si MPL or 2017, late 2017. Then medyo pinagsasabay pa. But after TI9, wala na talagang Dota event sa Philippines. So,
tama.
Dire-diretso.
Correct.
Yeah.
So, given na parang nawalan na yung event dito sa Philippines, were you forced to transition to MPL? Or how did it work? Kasi, what season did you start sa MPL?
Season 1.
Season 1, right?
Yeah, I was there season 1. So, the story there is, I was working with Mineski. Mineski got the project for Mobile Legends in season 1.
Right.
Everybody was so hyped about it. Lon Marcelo comes in. Para alam mo yung sa SpongeBob meme na yung papasok siya. What's up mga...
Yeah.
What's up? Aralin niyo yung ML kasi ito na yung next big thing. And ayun. Kami kasi ni Manjin, ang working namin nun talaga, working relationship namin nun. Laban kami. Gusto namin talagang improve yung sarili namin sa mga So laban talaga kung laban. What we did is habang may Dota casts, inaral namin yung ML.
Right.
And then, come MPL season 1, which is hindi naman ganun kadami yung weeks nun.
Right.
Shorten pa yung regular season natin nun. Nag-commit na kami dun. So, ever since season 1, kami nandun.
Do you remember ano yung feeling mo nung first cast mo?
So unbelievable. Kasi, relative to Dota, ang dami agad viewers nun sa ML. At ang masasabi ko dun, mas engaged agad sila when it comes to storylines.
Right.
Sa MLBB. Obviously, na buhat lang ako nun kasi yung knowledge ko nun hindi pa ganun kataas since nagdodota nga ako.
Right.
So, I had to focus dun sa play-by-play. Naaral ko. With all due fairness, ito magandang kwento dyan. Binigyan kami ng isang month or less actually to prepare. Ako ang ginawa ko kasi bilang isang pag nag-aaral ako, gusto ko visual.
Yeah.
So pinrint ko lahat ng mga skills, parang lahat ng spells, everything. Then dun sa office namin, merong mga nakaprint. Alam mo parang prepare ka sa board exam.
Yeah.
Every single day makita namin yung lahat ng nangyari. So yun lang inabawi ko. And eventually naman, parang na-apply ko lang yung techniques ko with Dota. So, I remember really, nung time na yun, nagulat din yung mga tao na may analysis.
Right.
With MLBB. Kasi they got used to hype din.
Yung hype casting, di ba?
Which is, masasabi ko, mas madaling na-receive ng ML people yung analysis more than the Dota people. Maybe because Dota people are innately parang alam mo yung know-it-all. Alam mo may ganong may ganong I don't know, stigma dati sa Dota.
Tama.
Parang less acceptable sila sa sa analysis. ML kasi nung time na yun, when it comes to stories, alam mo yung mga kwento na sinasabi namin na ito yung nangyari between Obs and Aether noon.
Right.
Ito yung kwento kasi nagre-research din naman kami. Kaya ako na quote-unquote fall in love with ML kasi yung community ang bilis mag-accept ng mga ginagawa namin. Whereas nung same amount of effort dun sa Dota 2,
parang hindi ka pinapansin or
hindi ka
ano.
masyadong
Parang ikaw pa yung mumukamali.
Exactly, yun. So, yun yung nakakatawa dun sa ML.
So, you started nung pinaka-first season na?
Yes.
So, how old were you?
I was 17 back then.
Okay. Okay. Kala ko 23. So, baka di nag-aalam. Ang ginagawa ko, hinuhuli ko. Hinuhuli. Ayaw pala. Ayaw talaga. Pero actually, since you mentioned, very interesting na that's the differences between the two communities, right?
Yeah.
And I think what I'm curious with is, syempre parang, there at that time, there was a stigma towards ML, especially if you were a Dota player.
Yes.
Parang, kasi, if LOL was watered down Dota,
paano pa yung ML?
ML, paano pa kaya? Kasi LOL na lang pang babies na yun, parang bata eh. And then parang ML, parang mas binata pa yung pabata. Parang ganon. So, how did you deal with that? Knowing na parang, and on top of that, right, I'm guessing, normally pag yung audience kasi ng Dota, more on the older side, compared to ML na you can see people like 6 years older, young, they start playing ML, they start watching. So, how was that transition knowing from, you have to cater to a younger audience versus older audience?
Yeah. So, basically, yun sa mga, to answer your question dun sa part na Dota tas biglang ML.
Yeah.
Well, I just didn't care. Wala talaga pake na, sige, sabihin yung, para sa akin kasi, well, at least for us ni Manjin, we saw it as craft before the game.
Right.
Hindi namin, mas finocus namin yung shoutcasting na craft instead of the esports title. Kasi back then, our goal, kung ano kinakas namin yun eh. Our goal was to elevate yung quote-unquote shoutcasting as a craft. Not really the game. Right? So, yun yung unang part. Second part, you would be surprised. Kasi, ang unang naging impression sa akin ng ML, syempre, sabi nating mas bata, ganun. But then I found out, hindi lang mas bata, pati mas matanda. And may mas maraming babae, mas maraming...
Totoo, mas maraming babae.
The demographics, way larger. So, kung ang Dota ay men from 22 to 35-ish, yung ML, lahat ng klase ng age, lahat ng klase ng gender,
tama.
Pasok.
Tama.
Which meant na mas challenging. You have to really develop more techniques, actually.
Tama. Kasi, sorry to cut you off. Like, it's very interesting, no? Kasi, like, for example, in terms of yung vernacular mo, your language, basically, it's more of like you have to be as vague as possible or it's hindi naman vague eh. It's more of like, it's hard for you to say something kasi you know that there are some particular terms that only work with this particular age group or gender, yada yada.
Yep.
So how did that affect your overall casting?
Una sa lahat, naging mas challenging siya. At the same time, mas enjoyable. Kasi parang, I can really remember one day, ang nagpa-picture sa amin nila Manjin was a whole family na may bata, may matanda, may lolo, may kid. So their whole family was very nice to see. And doon namin mas... naisip na talagang kailangan mag-cater ka sa lahat. So it was a bigger challenge.
Right.
Then you'll eventually find a middle ground para maintindihan ng lahat. But at the same time, kailangan updated ka sa quirks ng mga tao. So kailangan mas active ka sa Facebook, sa mga groups. And it was very wrong for you to think na i-aim mong kunin lahat agad. There are certain games na ito lang yung kailangan mong gamitin. When me and Manjin will be casting medyo nandun sa mga older side ng tao, ng mga cage group namin, di ba? And even yung mga tito-tita, kasi nanonood kami ng mga PBA, NBA. So at least gets namin yung humor nila. Then, when I cast with, for example, si Womi, very Gen Z kind of feels with Santi, for example. Yung humor nila is more Gen Z. So, dun ka aayon, kumbaga. So, I hope that answers the question. Parang, wag mong i-aim. At least kami, hindi namin in-aim na matouch-upan lahat agad. slowly do it, and no matter what happens kasi hindi mo mako-cover lahat eh. That's very ambitious, impossible
Oo, tama,
mangyari.
tama.
Kailangan mo talaga mag-compartmentalize kumbaga.
Right.
Yeah.
I have 2 questions, right? You always mention Manjin. How long have you been with Manjin?
Oo, kasi nag-start kami 2016 actually.
And how old were you there?
2016, I was 16.
Galing.
Yeah. Pero kaya siya yung like ko na babangit kasi matagal kami nag-office mate at seatmate ng matagal.
Right.
There was a time kasama namin si Aki and si Butters, ayan, and then of course sila Shinbu. Kaso yung talagang actual office mate ko noon, nung time
Si
na
Manjin talaga.
Try kasama ko nun. Yep.
And I think my second question is, like, given na parang, I think you mentioned it, right? There are different types of casters with different types of specialties. I'm just curious, is there any advice you want to give to like upcoming casters or people who want to try to get into it?
Number one advice dyan is develop your own identity.
Right.
It's good na meron kang pattern, meron kang peg, pero ang kukunin mo lang sa kanila yung mga techniques. Pero yung wag mong i-aim na palitan sila kasi that will never happen.
Yeah. Before you continue, is there any caster na ina-idol mo?
Dati sila Merlini yan talaga. Merlini.
Merlini.
Yan talaga. Ngayon si Fogged, ayan. Kasi mga Dota yung mga idols ko eh. Dito sa Pinas kasi, to be completely honest, hindi ko talaga trip yung dating style. As in yung mga Pinoy style ng casting.
Yeah, kasi based on the way you cast, right? It's very intellectual, knowledgeable. Yeah. But I get you eh. Parang ang laban ng dati, palakasan ng sigaw eh.
Exactly.
So it's not, I would understand na why you wouldn't have anyone in particular as your top list. So gets.
Ayun. And then I learned the hard way na yung Lone and Duna, for example.
Yeah.
Kahit i-try mong gayahin sila, you will never replace them.
You will never replace the duo.
So, mas maganda talaga na when it comes to advice, develop your own identity.
Right.
And second most important one, be a good caster is also a good co-caster. Ayun talaga. Like kung pinipreachan kahit kanino. Being a good co-caster means masarap kang katrabaho, which will always be pag talagang nagkaroon ng pilian, nagkaroon ng kunwari isang pool of casters, pipiliin ko to kasi masaya katrabaho to. No matter what happens, that will be the top priority. So yun yung number 2 tip ko.
Okay. Kasi I do agree, parang you have to learn how to jive with who you're talking to.
Exactly.
Kasi it's not like a one-man show.
Yeah,
And
it's never. Yeah.
And the way you think of it is parang casters kasi are there to enhance the overall watching experience. So I do agree. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I'm just curious before we end this segment. What do you love more? Dota or ML?
Ay, nako. Yari. Parang hirap sagutin yan. Honestly, younger me would easily say Dota kasi talagang yung first love never dies eh.
Right.
Pero kasi, ngayon, confidently masabi kong ML. And it's not because of the game itself. More of the community talaga. That community accepted. Ang dali nilang tinanggap yung gusto kong gawin bilang isang caster. Specifically sa analysis. They are more willing to tell stories. Kasi alam mo naman yung nangyari every single game ever since before. Pag nag-start ka ng game, Obs versus Aether, ang dami agad trash talk after.
Right.
Then, Bren, Signal, dati nun, Sunsparks, ONIC, unlimited yung kwento.
Right.
Which is scaled down ng significantly sa Dota.
Right.
So yun. Tapos basically that's what I really love about Mobile Legends, yung community. The good and the bad part of the community. I love them both.
Actually, I do get what you mean by that. Kasi parang in terms of ML, there's always a story behind it. And then there's the reason why you follow a team is not just because they play good, but because parang there's a certain player or certain players that you connect with.
Totoo.
There are people oh, I want to be like Oh My Venus because I want that leadership and I want that empowerment. I want to be someone like Kelra kasi at that time I want to be a standard in terms of what I'm doing. In terms of Dota kasi parang that's the fear eh. The only ones who get the story are always the ones who are just winning.
Yep.
So I do get you. That's why I think like personalities in Dota are so different. Well, in terms of how personalities are molded in terms of Dota, it's so different compared to ML.
Yep.
I do get that. Yeah, that's true. Yun. Actually, that was a pretty solid segment. Before we get into the next segment, I really want to ask you about what are your thoughts on what's been going through this entire this regular season, and of course the Hall of Legends where you belong.
Wow.
But before that, I'd like to thank our sponsors, the very important people in our lives, because they do one thing and that's make me happy because they sponsor me. Sponsor ONIC pala. Sorry. Ayan pala. Okay. First and foremost, I'd like to thank Anterior Solutions, empowering businesses with software solutions. Isuzu Subic, your responsible partner. Attaché, ready anywhere. KTM Bike Industries, ready to race. Timex Philippines, we don't stop. And last but not the least, Converge FiberX. If you're a gamer and want better gameplay, change the game, go for Game Changer. Yan. Thank you so much for our sponsors. Yay! Thank you for sponsoring. Thank you for the money. We appreciate it. Yay. Ayan. Going back, right? I wanted to ask just a quick rundown, right? It's week 5 now this week, right? Week 5. Incoming week 5. And syempre, we've all seen the leaderboards. Natapos na nga yung first leg. We're starting na with second leg, the first week. The second week of the first leg. Any thoughts?
Ano lang. Sa akin, congrats of course sa ONIC.
Thank you.
Sobrang, ang dami kong mga, exceeds expectations na players.
Right.
And 2 of them came from ONIC. So I have 3 kasi si Lord JM, si Hidden Gem, and si Ryzen.
Right.
Silang tatlo para sa akin yung never kong in-expect na may I didn't expect na ganun kaganda yung maging impact nila sa team.
Right.
Particularly dito sa ONIC kasi I think hindi naman to kumbaga daming beses ko itong sinabi sa iba't ibang mga cast ko at sa sobrang interview. I don't want to be in the shoes of the coaches of ONIC with shuffling how many players.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Right.
It's almost impossible. Ayoko mapunta dun sa lugar nila kasi parang feeling ko mababaliw ako. So, great job on that. So, with the streak that you guys had was very impressive. Of course, Echo is Echo, the World Championship form. Gusto nilang bumawi with MSC. I'm super surprised with Bren na ganun bigla nagkaroon ng slump sila.
Right.
They're pretty strong, but I think I could easily say na dahil sa patch siya kaya sila nag-struggle.
Right.
But at the same time, there's a factor din na parang siguro fatigue din kasi wala din tigil yung paglalaro ng Bren. That plays a big part too. I honestly thought that RSG didn't have the second wind talaga. I honestly thought that they've been bested na.
You're right.
Pero nag-streak sila ngayon, top 2 sila ngayon. Right?
Yeah, they're such a weird team, no?
Yeah,
It's so they're so consistently inconsistent. That's my word for them. Like sometimes they stomp like the best teams and then they get stomped by like out of nowhere, right? Yeah. And I think kudos to that team, right?
Yes.
Admittedly, like you have your vets, the Aqua, you have your light. And then they're able to synergize properly with Erad, which I find pretty cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just genuinely think like the most consistently inconsistent team in MPL.
Yeah.
I don't understand them.
Big props to Coach Panda and the entire management siguro to bring them back. Kasi parang when I see them play and I see them lose, like naisip, oh no, wala na ba is this all that's left in the tank for the team?
Right.
Then they have this weird second wind out of nowhere. Yung jump talaga parang iba Iba yung jump nila Iba yung jump nila past 2 weeks.
Right,
That's all
right.
I can say. Yeah.
For Minana.
Minana.
Right.
Yeah. Like I said, yung si Lord JM ay exceeds expectations. I think sobrang clear na hindi nila ma-close out yung mga games. Yun yung pinaka-struggle nila. And ang kinailangan lang pala mangyari is manalo lang pala sila ng isang series na maganda yung kanilang execution, and that was against TNC kung di ako nagkakamali. Doon sila simula. Tapos yung second series nila going up against Blacklist, right? Omega against Omega. Makikita mo yung difference ng paglalaro nila nung kalaban nila yung Omega from leg 1 na from leg 1 almost matapos leg 2 nakita natin, they actually closed it out ng sobrang convincing.
Yeah, I actually do agree. Like I was when I had Reptar here last week, I was also feeling the same way na parang honestly speaking, you should have that other team play. Yung archives ba yun?
Yeah, I guess.
I prefer them. And I feel like parang what was so interesting then is yung pagpasok din ni what's his name? Kaizen. Yeah. Overall, I think he did well.
Yeah.
And I'm just pretty shocked, right? Kasi looking at the points, in terms of like all the other MPLs, this one's like so dikit.
Yep. Exactly. Yung apart from Echo, though.
Yeah. Fuck. Sure.
Usog natin, right?
They have their own category. Besides Echo, everyone's just like 2 points away.
Yeah.
It's like you can make it or break it in like 2 series and like that. Actually, it reminds me talaga of like we were talking earlier before the podcast start, how MPL ID was. Na parang every game mattered. Parang yung last game was like the deciding factor if I'm getting into playoffs or my dreams are just gonna go away and stuff like that. And ako, honestly speaking, I think that's what we need. Sorry, right? But it's really heartbreaking. Pero parang that's what you want to see. It's like when you're being pushed to the limit and then who comes out the stronger one. So I'm very interested in what's gonna happen this season.
Yung nung first week talaga na napanood ko yung mga games natin dito sa MPL, and then mainit na kasi yung MPL ID.
Right.
So parang bakit ganun? Parang entertained ako na sobra dito sa MPL ID. Then after a while, na-gets ko na rin na kaya pala ako mas nag-enjoy sa MPL ID kasi nga closer yung
malaban.
Yung mga laban. At the same time, bugbugan kasi sila. Yung meta nila talaga mabugbugan. Kaya nakakatuwang, alam mo yun, nakakatuwa panoorin sa face value sa unang tingin. Dito sa Pinas, ang nakakatawa talagang panoorin dito, drafting tsaka yung mga macro. Nakakatawa talagang panoorin. So which is, normally, ma-appreciate mo second viewing. Diba?
Right.
Kasi sa first viewing, parang di mo pa ma-figure out. Until you know the result. Tapos parang i-reverse engineer mo yung ginagawa. Ganun pala yun. Kaya yun yung nakakatawa sa PH.
Since you mentioned macro, diba? And I want to ask about a team that's really good at this, but parang these past few weeks have been really iffy. What are your thoughts on Blacklist?
I think sobrang weird na hindi sila nag-flourish ngayon.
Right.
Kasi nung I think yung personal opinion ko lang about Blacklist is baka masyado silang malinis mag-isip maglaro. Kasi yung naalala ko, yung unang criticism ko kay Rene J no first week is hindi siya namamatay first team.
Right.
But at the same time, he's not that effective. Nung mga nagkukufrakadyo siya, after a few series ata, nangyari, or actually the following series, namamatay na siya, pero nakagawa siya ng play. Then I see them again this week.
Parang ganun ulit.
They aim to be super clean. Which kinda, alam mo yun, parang minsan hindi, like you look at Baloy, siya yung kabilang
Spectrum. Tama, yeah. He's the...
8 deaths, 10 deaths, pero make something happen.
Right. So parang there's no risks involved. There's no risk-taking.
I think so. Pero again, yun, opinion ko lang naman yun. Pero I think, yun kasi nakita ko, 0 deaths Renegade nung Kufra, pero bakit hinahanap natin yung playmaking? Kasi I always feel na sometimes, pag masyado kang malinis maglaro, mapasa. Siguro dahil sa meta ngayon na hindi pwedeng sobrang linis. Something has to happen.
Right.
And typically that yung something na yun na kailangan mangyari, medyo kailangan mo ng sacrifice. Alright.
Right.
Like, ayaw kung tama ka ba kung ganun nga ba sa chess? I'm not sure.
Yeah. You have to sacrifice certain pieces to
exactly,
right?
Diba?
Actually, since you mentioned it, diba, and then everyone was waiting for this question. Since you talked about the meta, then I mean it's all there. We all know VYs, they took a rest. In your opinion, do you feel like if VYs played this season, do you think they would win this season? I'm just curious.
Feeling ko 100%.
Why? 100% na.
Yeah, they can. They'll reach the grand finals 100%. You know, sa akin. And
right.
Well, ganito kasi yung nakita naman natin mga heroes ngayon. Matilda, come on.
Yeah.
The Venus School of Medicine. Yung I call it the Venus School of Medicine.
School of Medicine.
Sakto yung mga items ganun. Tapos,
yung Aqua Flask. Yung ano.
Aqua Flask. The Oasis, whatever. Para sa akin, yung meta para sa kanya. Tapos na-buff pa yung Lolita. Kung usapang tank, yun yung main tank ni Venus. Pag naubusan siya ng supports, meron siyang Lolita out of nowhere. Tama. Right? So, just looking at Venus hero pool, tapos yung macro pa ngayon na, ganun. They're meant to be. Tapos, yung sa jungle side pa, who invented the Fredrin jungle?
Sa bagay,
Season 10 was wise. Nung season 10, everybody was playing it XP. Siya yung naglaro nun sa jungle.
Tama.
Back siya. Sobrang ganda ng macro niya. I personally felt na nung MSC, yung macro niya and the back siya was top tier kahit na nag-struggle sila eventually. Tapos nung season 11 finals, kung di ako nagkamali, may back siya din noon, at time na yun. And then, ano pa ba yung mga heroes? Like, utility, jungle, pasok kay Wise. And then, I'm sure, along the way, makaka-invento siya ng baliw na jungle. Like, I don't know, bring back Barrett's jungle.
Mino jungle.
Lunox jungle, whatsoever. Dirot jungle, mga ganun.
Sila talaga yung style niya.
So, I think, wala meant to be, feeling ko na pag naglaro sila.
Speaking of meant to be, I'd like to give a shout out to two special people watching. We have Hans and Burrito. Baka gusto mo i-shout out, Coach?
Nabati ko si Mr. Hans. Sorry kung hindi natin nabigyan ng shout out from team, football team. Pero sana masaya ka na napanood mo yung twice, yun lang. At si Burrito, wag ka nang malungkot. Nalulungkot kasi si Burrito, meron siyang post na ganun siya. Malungkot siya kasi meron siyang six-pack. So, wag ka nang malungkot, may six-pack ka naman .
Grabe naman yung mga third world problems mo, boy. Ay, first world problems mo, nakakaano naman dyan.
Shoutout sa'yo, boss.
Sige, actually, since we're also talking about like the overall week and then how things were going and just Emerald in general, syempre, I think this is the most awaited part, especially for me. The Hall of Legends. Yun. Actually, before guys, in-invite kasi namin siya dahil alam namin ma-induct siya. Kasi pag kapag na-induct na siya, yung TF niya sobrang tataas na naman. Wala na kaming pera, pinagbabayad na naman. Wala na akong pera. Kaya, ngayon pa lang, kinukuha na namin siya. Para pag sa dating ng hindi ko na problemahin yung TF na yan. Wala na, ganun yun. Ganun yung style. Ganun yung style, boy. Pero, sige. Siyempre, Hall of Legends, such a big thing, right? And the best thing about the Hall of Legends, it wasn't like it's not just purely player-centric. And I think that's what I find so interesting about it. Kasi you learn to appreciate ML in all forms of it. Whether it be casting, whether it be a player, whether you're a coach. Pero nga, natatawa ako, actually si Doggy nga nagsabi, ang gusto nga niya i-nominate si Uncle Joy.
Oo, diba?
Uncle Joy, pre. Actually, ako, G ako doon.
Why not, right?
Why not, di ba? Kasi it's all about more than just the contribution to the game and at the same time, like, the overall impact. No. I was just wondering, right? In your perspective, besides yourself, of course, you. Personally, for you, who do you think should be there?
Yeah. I think my personal vote si JP.
Right,
Just
right.
because of pagiging OG. And syempre si Ducky. Parang magkaiba talaga eh. Naalala ko tuloy sinabi ni Kebong. Sabi niya, si Dax na lang kasi matanda na daw siya sa dinosaur na daw.
Dinosaur.
I think si JP was supposed to play MPL Season 1 eh. May ganong story.
Right.
I think nag-qualify naman siya doon. And nakausap ko din si Madam Mitch. Parang may time na kaya lang siya hindi nakalaro talaga totally kasi parang may work yata sa Japan or something like that. But when it comes to being OG, nandun siya. Kaya ako kasi and gusto ko lang din magpasalamat talaga dun sa mga nag-nominate. Kasi nandun nga kami sa Land of China nung time na yun. Hindi ko ma-replyan lahat kasi medyo hirap when Facebook eh. Hindi naman siya.
Yeah, tama.
So,
right.
It wasn't easy reading all of the comments. Pero nagulat ako na parang biglang pinag-uusapan. And sobrang na-motivate ako nun na sipagan dun sa may Asian Games. And then, but at the same time, I felt na bakit kaya nasama yung name ko dun sa conversation where there are people like JP, for example, andyan si Ducky, even Zapno is there na hindi nasasama. And then, I thought, okay, so yung mga fans pala ay beyond na talaga sa just gameplay.
Right.
They're looking at the contributions, right?
Actually, like, yun nga, parang, I find that interesting, right? Since we're on the topic of like contributions. Admittedly, si Zapno, maliban sa MSC, like, maybe maybe the earlier seasons of MPL, he was able to garner maybe close to champions, right? But parang I find it so interesting that a lot of people don't want to recognize him as someone who should be inducted into the Hall of Legends. I mean, what are your thoughts on that? Because personally, for me, right, I think, which kind of sucks, kasi a lot of people just see him for who he is now compared to what he's achieved for the game.
And madali din kasi ma-fall dun sa ganong klaseng arguments. Like, alam mo yun, like, basically, villainize yung mga...
Yeah, tama.
However, kasi, I tingin ko naman, ang mga tao kasi, tinitingnan nila yung honors like Hall of Legends as you gotta have to represent it properly. Right? So, kung may essentially mga taong ma-issue dahil dun sa mga salitang sinasabi nila, parang madaling ma-villainize, right? Sa akin, sadly, hindi ko rin alam yung fine line doon.
Right.
But the thing is, every time na makaisip ako na meron naman akong parang solid candidate talaga na undisputed, like JP and Ducky, for example, bakit ko pa pupuntahan yung iba na merong doubts? Meron naman akong sure.
Right, tama.
Yeah, like why would I go to some, since paisa-isa lang din naman induct. So, that's my opinion about it. But then again, hindi natin pwedeng kalimutan yung contributions ni Zapno.
Right.
In fact, ito kasi guys, nung mga first few years nung MLBB, say what you will about dun sa inaasta ng mga players na yan, like Zapno, on camera, you'll be surprised kung gaano nila minahal yung community noong time din. Especially the first few times. And fairly remember yung pag-uusap nila Zapno, nila Doggy, na ito yung mga kailangan natin gawin. Ito yung constantly na kailangan nilang gawin para sa MLBB. Surely, pwede mo argue na nagsistream. Yung stream nila na malalanan dati. The grind was you'll be surprised how much effort they put in. And sa pagtitraining na rin. Like Zapno, the way that they trained before ay ridiculously mas mahirap kumpara ngayon. Ngayon, mas organized, mas structured. Before, they had to make do with little to no budget. They had to make do with their phones na hindi ganun kaganda. Internet's not that good. scrims ay unknown nung time na yun. Non-existent.
Right.
Unheard of na mga time na yun. And all you have to do, you have to be very crafty just to be good.
Right.
And they have this parang self-appointed na task na mag-stream for the viewers to keep the community together.
Right.
It took, para sa akin kasi yung mga ganong klaseng persona, ang hirap pa rin niyang gawin kahit, alam mo, mukhang madaling maging mayabang sa totoo lang. Pero, to constantly do it and also perform at the highest level.
Right.
It's also difficult.
I mean, honestly speaking, I think everyone in the business knows naman they're just playing a character. And I think, the ones who really fall into it are just very gullible. But honestly speaking, without these quote-unquote villains in the scene, they don't, without them, boring eh.
Yeah, di ba? I think some of the viewers here will admit they really did make specific seasons flavorful.
Tama, I agree.
That's what they did. Remember the...
Yeah, that one. I remember.
Yeah, you remember.
Yeah,
right?
I remember
Yung pala,
too
mga
much.
ganun. Actually, nung earlier seasons, yung the trash talk, quote unquote. Right?
Oh.
It's part of that. Pero syempre, whatever it is na gawin nila na outside of ML, personal-wise, na kung meron man silang mga atraso or anything, that will never be, ano ba? They have to be accountable for that.
Right.
Yeah, yun lang.
I'm curious, no, since you talked about how ML was growing and the past and the history behind the game, is there one moment that for you is shit, this is my favorite moment of all the years that I've been in MPL?
I'm very sorry about this, pero season 4 talaga.
Yeah.
The finals. It's just that.
Yeah.
Yun.
It gives me TI3 vibes.
Yep.
Don't worry.
Yep. Season 4 talaga yung para sa akin, most unforgettable moment. Hindi ako well, actually, first time ko mag-cast ng grand finals as caster nung finals. Kasi parang palitan nun eh.
Yeah.
Then, nung dumating na ng Manjinbu, doon na totally yung balik. Tapos, nandun na ako sa may panel. So, naging panel host na ako. So, why was it special? Because of one moment lang talaga na imagine mo, may team na nagpo-push dun sa base pero yung camera pumunta pa kabila.
Right.
We were also prepared to say ONIC champions. And then yung camera nagpan papunta sa baba, sumabog yung base nung
Yeah.
Tapos the crowd was crazy. SMX was shaking. Literally, parang nag-earthquake nung time na yun.
Right.
So, sobrang special na moment na yun sa akin. Tsaka doon talaga nagkaroon ng I guess, mas madami pang personality. True. And sobrang, I never met Baloy, but nag-usap kami after. Tapos na yung finals, the guy chats me and we talk about the game, what they could have done better after. Ganun ka taas ganun kaganda yung personality ng mga tao ng time na yun.
Right. And I think, since you mentioned the infamous isang one-hit man. But I have to admit, right, those moments can really make or break the entire, because it's crazy, it was good.
Crazy.
I was just wondering, diba, since you had this oh shit moment, has there been a moment for you bilang isang caster na oh shit but in a bad way?
Well, there was one. Season 8, the infamous din, the flame shot, na 5 flame shot,
right.
XP. Remember that? It was actually Sanford's debut ba? Basta kalaban, I forgot who they were playing. Well, basically, nung time na necessary magkaroon ng retry, nagkaroon na 5 flame shot sila.
Yeah, tama. Yeah, I remember that.
And it was like...
That was so annoying.
Yeah. Ayun. So, alam ni Midnight yan. Midnight. Yan. Yeah, Come on.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that is your infamous wolf moment.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, guys. Please, first thing you do, search the Sanford debut so you can watch it. What happened?
Baka mali ako na. Baka hindi yun yung actual debut ni Sanford. Pero at least, yung series na yun, I think na naglaro si Sanford.
Right. Yeah. Okay. As you can see, even the richest people makes mistakes in their lives.
Wow.
But we all learn from our mistakes and make more money out of it. Ganon talaga ang buhay. Sa mga nanghihingi ng pera po sa akin, huwag niyo kayo itanong. I-message nyo lang po si Coach Wolf sa Wolfcast.
Man,
and mabibigay naman yung pera niya sa inyo. Ngayon. Actually, before that, right? I'm just to like share din, right? The way we met din kasi, and at that time was really weird.
Yeah.
Kasi at ONIC needed like a coach.
Mm-hmm.
And parang unheard of pa at that time na kumuha ng caster na coach. And then we got you.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm interested to know, like, syempre you've seen how it works outside. But once you were inside an organization, how different was it from you? Bilang isang caster or sa coach?
So I remember our first day.
Right.
Nabaliw kayo kasi naka-t-shirt ako. Parang...
Yeah.
gulat ako na parang, ba't kayo nagulat? Normal na tao lang naman. Parang, I think because you guys never kayo hindi kayo sanay na hindi na t-shirt.
Tama.
Formal clothes. But I would tell you, nagbago talaga yung casting style ko in a way na the things that were I guess the things that were absolute to me before na this player mali, ganun, mahina tong player na to.
Right.
Madali siya nabura para sa akin. Like, for example, when you see, for example, one player na nag-struggle at hindi maganda yung game, mas nagkaroon ako ng empathy na, siguro, eto kasi yung nangyayari kaya ganito yung struggles.
Right.
So, when I went for analysis noon, mas objective ko na tinitignan yung mga bagay na, okay, kaya siguro hindi nakaka-retreat to kasi hindi niya nasanay. Whereas itong player na to, ganito yung training niya, ganito yung resolve niya.
Right.
Then I always value yung mga subs more. Yun yung pinaka napansin ko, like, so many teams I've seen in so many people sobrang undermined yung mga substitutions and madali silang underestimate, but you never know the value of like having Marky on the sidelines back then, right? And then pagpasok niya and ano yung ginagawa niya outside of the broadcast na makikita natin, ano yung ambag niya sa team, right? So mas more empathy doon. I think parang nag-open up lang talaga yung utak ko na hindi pala dapat ganito yung picture na binubuo natin about players, about managers.
Right.
Like even yung mga struggling na teams, hindi mo sila pwedeng lagay sa dirt. Kasi there was a time that even us, di ba, nag-struggle tayo ng malupit as yung lowest of lows.
Tama.
People will easily say na mali na to, palitan na to, whatever.
Right.
But when I became part of a team, mas naintindihan ko na ito yung kailangan na steps. That's why more objective na yung casting.
So parang it gave you like once you got into a deeper dive into what an org was doing and then everyday struggles, parang it gave you a better sense of appreciation and empathy towards others.
Especially dun sa mga teams na nagsastruggle and sa players na nagsastruggle.
Right.
Lalo na pag talagang pinupuro yung isang player na lagi itong ang dami na talaga mga hateful message.
Right.
You guys don't know how one single comment can actually, destroy a person.
True. Right.
Ganun bagay.
I'm actually curious, right? I mean, since we also talked about about it, and would we ever see a chance of Coach Wolf?
Na may head coach?
Yeah.
Siguro dati ngayon kasi naniniwala na ako madami mas magaling eh. Alam mo yun, there are many qualified coaches na ngayon. Yun. Siguro dati, but ngayon, unless siguro talaga magkaubusan na talaga kasi wala na talaga mahanap.
Right.
I would love to. I think it's still part of my bucket list naman. Yep.
So you'd be down to be a head coach?
Yeah, down the line.
But like not as of now, not really. Parang hindi siya priority mo.
Yeah, kasi I'm still lalo na kapag nakapag-work ka sa mga malulupit na coaches, like
Right.
when I see Coach Yeb, best example.
Oh yeah.
The amount of effort and the amount of siguro resolve and mental fortitude na meron ka and focus.
Yeah.
I know to myself na magiging disservice pag nag-head coach ako tas hindi ako ready na gawin yung alam mo yun, meron kasing na-set na standard.
Tama.
And kung hindi ko pa kaya ibigay yun, mas maganda iba na lang muna yung mag-coach.
Right.
Yeah. I don't want no half measures sa doon. So, ngayon, I can confidently say na hindi pa ako ready sa ngayon. Kasi mas marami pang mas qualified.
Pero you're open to the idea.
Yeah, for sure. Line.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, pero you're affiliated with Geek Fam, no? Somehow.
Si 8G.
Si 8G pala. Si 8G is affiliated with Geek Fam.
Yeah. Well, big shoutouts to Geek Fam. May parang last year may rise din na may photo din kasama yung with the team. So si 8G ay mayroong app na ginawa at ang pinakaunang nag-support nun was actually 8G. So shoutouts to Kit from Geek Fam.
Right.
Allowed 8G to materialize that app. Na yun. So, yun.
So, given na 8G is with Geek Fam, and I guess there's one question that I really want to ask, right? We do understand, like, tapos na yung regular season ng MPLID.
Yeah.
And ako personally, well, biased ako, I have to admit. It's not that I don't like RRQ. It's just that I want Geek Fam to. Kasi it's like such a great underdog story.
Oh, so
first and foremost. Kasi parang, I remember there were the team na longest lose streak, longest to not get into playoffs, ganon.
Yeah.
And then next thing you know, parang they're just rummaging through the regular season. I'm just curious, right? Since all these talks about M5 and whatnot, and syempre di pa nga tapos yung MPL ID or MPL PH, M5 na yung usapan. Parang, who are your expected teams to get into M5? Like for you, para sa'yo.
Yeah. Yung ONIC medyo automatic.
Yeah, ONIC ID.
Sadly, ONIC ID, they're just gods. Come on. Wala Like I always say, na yung mga teams sa MPL ID, naglalaban na lang sila talaga sa second place.
Yeah.
So, it's now between RRQ tsaka Geek, of course.
Right.
Personal bias ko syempre sa Geek dahil people will never ever get this, pero yung heart na binibigay ni Baloy for the teams.
Right. It's crazy.
That guy, Baloy is probably one of the people that deserves it sobra. As in, deserves talaga the championship and all the success in the world, because you don't know how much people will never ever know kung gaano kalaki yung sacrifices na ginawa ni Baloy.
Right.
And the way that he had to adapt. And he's practically alone doon. Ngayon, may naman si Marky, but alam mo yun, like, there was a time na madaming struggles talaga with the going dun sa Indonesia. RRQ though, I always, sinabi ko na rin to. Kasi, sobrang fan ako ni Zaya.
Yeah.
Tsaka nandun pa si Naomi.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Naomi.
Super big fan of those two.
It's crazy.
And then, Versick, gumanda yung improvement.
Yeah.
So, I think, deserving naman ang RQ to be in that spot.
Right.
Just because of that. Because I'm a big fan of Zaya, I think na when it comes to off-season pickups, yung RQ yung pinakamaganda yung nakuha.
Right, true. They gave away a lot. I mean, Albert was practically the face of RQ at that time.
Yep.
And I'm just curious, before I'll ask you a question regarding, like, especially like M5, particularly yung pagpasok ng wildcard na China. I'm actually very curious on your thoughts on that. But before that, I'd like to thank our sponsors more than anything. Yes. Because before we can run this show, we're thankful for the people who allow us to do so. And here we go with Anterior Solutions, empowering businesses with software solutions. Isuzu Subic, your responsible partner. Attaché, ready anywhere. KTM Bike Industries, ready to race. Timex Philippines, we don't stop. And last but not the least, Converge FiberX. If you're a gamer and want better gameplay, change the game, go for Game Changer. Yan. Before we end our short sponsor segment, I'd like to give a special shout out to the one and only Kat Valentine, Carlo Giron.
Ay!
Yeah, the one and only, the babaeng marangal, as we call him. And I'd also love to give a the most special shout out to my girlfriend, Princess. Thank you for watching and supporting.
Hello po.
Yan.
Shoutouts din kay Giron at syempre kay Madam Mili at si Tori. Maraming salamat din sa viewers kasi parang si Tori medyo nagkakalaman. So, kasama niya. Shoutout sa kung sino man nagpapakain kay Tori ngayon. Mabuhay kayo.
Yun, thank you.
Thank you.
Speaking of please come over, Tori, Carlo. Si Millie, baka matanggal yung podcast ko sa iyo. Ayoko, wag na. Kung ano sasabihin mong hype ka, wag na.
Shoutout sa inyo.
Sige. Before that, right, as I was saying earlier, what are your thoughts on China joining M5?
Okay.
And like, naging viral pa nga kasi nga I think si Coach Zeiss ata, if I recall.
Yeah.
He had like a post na he came over to Moonton, China, I believe.
Yeah.
And then there were like talks about heavy hitters. Pucha.
Oh, may LGD,
pre,
diba?
LGD. Laking bagay yung LGD. Pero what are your thoughts?
Yeah. I do hope that they succeed. Tingin, kasi mahirap i-penetrate yung market ngayon. I've been there actually recently. At ang China talaga, meron na silang game na nilalaro talaga mobile.
That's, di ba? Si HOK?
Yeah. I think that they have a local, name for it.
Right.
Which I don't know how to say. Giants yung kakaharapin doon ng BBI. We really wish them luck. So, what is my opinion of China being part of MLBB? Long overdue para sa akin.
Right.
Yeah. Kaya sobrang tagal na nating hinahanap sila. Kasi when you get China talking dun sa esports mo,
right,
it means mas lalaki yung reach. And imagine just the viewership, yung competition nandun.
Right.
And come on, it's no secret. Sila talaga, China together with Korea, they produce the best esports talents, right?
Correct.
Across all esports titles. I think maganda yan. At nakakausap ko din yung mga ibang analysts, I guess, or influential people sa Indonesia. They're quote-unquote scared of MLBB teams from China because we know that they have malakas sila.
Right.
At kagandahan kasi sa China, they have the facilities to do so. Pag nag-commit na sila, they full commit.
Crazy, yeah. The level of facilities in China just out of this world, like buong buildings just for esports. And I think what I find so interesting, as you mentioned nga, diba, I do agree to an extent that China and Korea do breed some of the best esports players in the world.
Yep.
And I think having them, I genuinely agree with you there na parang given the size and the population, like imagine, right? The Philippines Indonesia is ×3 in terms of viewership and the overall population. So given talaga mas madami talaga yung manonood.
Yep.
Imagine you have China come into play and then imagine like not even like the entire country, just maybe like a percentage, like 3% of that is like crazy amounts of viewers, and then the amount of like influence to start. And once you start naman with China, most likely magsisimula lahat ng iba eh. Kasi I mean, crazy. Think about the HOK, right? For example, you look at their prize pools.
Numbers,
they're hitting millions of dollars. And that's not the prize. That's not just the prize pool. That's like the first place. It's crazy. It's like Dota numbers, I'd say.
Dota numbers.
I'd say. So it's pretty insane.
Yep. No, overall, masaya ako na may China came to play. Actually.
Right.
Kung bibigyan ko ng pagkakataon na parang kahit mag-spend na ng 1 month to teach whatever teachings we have, alam mo yun. I'd happy to do that. Even dun sa casters nila, sa pro team nila, yun talaga. Kasi tingin ko, mas madaming challengers, mas okay. Natalo na ng Pinoy yung buong Southeast Asia, buong
Right.
sila naman yung next challengers.
Yeah, that's true. I do agree. Sad. That's my bossies this minute. Sorry, Justin. Don't take me out. Yung wala, grabe, no? Pero yun nga, I mean, I think it's so interesting since you also mentioned something about M5. I think the overall setup now is also pretty cool. I think more than anything, it being in the Philippines is such a big boost. Like,
yeah.
as you mentioned, long overdue. I think they really needed this more than anything.
Yep.
And on top of that, I find that interesting. They have these wild cards na prior to the event. Parang I do get it, right? It's a way to hype up more in terms of the M5 because I really want it to be as big as possible.
Yep.
Because the M series has always been such a big thing ever since. Like even way back M2, M1, mga ganon. But I feel like the amount of effort that they're putting into this M5 is super huge compared to the past ones.
And it will only get bigger. Again, yung wild card, first trial niya. I'm sure na iba na yung discussions next year.
Right.
Like this year, we're definitely happy with wild card. Pero para sa akin kasi like Myanmar teams sobrang deserving na nandun.
Right.
Maybe we can even get more from the West. Right? Like mas madami may mga teams din na talagang nag-rise na dun sa iba't ibang parts ng mundo. So I genuinely feel na it will just get bigger. Ngayon yung wildcard, happy ako na may wildcard, but it should change next year talaga. I'm pretty sure na magiging nakakabaliw yung isipin ng mundo next year. Like, malay natin, meron na mga points, alam mo like DPC
yung parang
before,
DPC, right?
Or more qualifiers, right? Maybe like tournaments like SPS, tournaments like MPLI.
Right.
What if may seeding silang kasama to make it even more interesting? Ganun.
Actually, speaking of like, and this should be all about wild card, and I do agree with you kasi parang recently, I miss this team so much. Burmese goals. Oh my God.
Napanood mo ba yung best of 7 nila? Grabe.
Oh my God.
Ang lupit nun.
This team, I love this team. I love them and hate them at the same time, but they're so fun to watch.
Super fun.
So fun to watch.
I honestly thought na, di ba in Game 7 na comeback na nila Ruby Didi na play for the other
Mythic
side.
Seal,
Mythic Seal. Tapos, Burmese Goals wins. Tumayo sila, tapos nang taunt sila. Beautiful esports.
Yeah, beautiful esports. Shit.
What a time to be alive.
But before we move on to more M5 discussions, someone in the comment section asked, is Wolf single daw?
Ay, no. Hindi po. Ako po masaya with my girlfriend.
Yeah.
Shout out sa'yo.
Tama yun.
Nikki from Bulacan. Hello po.
Right. Maganda.
Yes, sir.
Resibo. Okay, timestamp. Okay, yan. Maganda. Yan. Speaking of, I love you, my girlfriend. Thank you for watching and supporting. Thank you. Yan. Ganon. Okay. Going back. Since we're talking about that and how a lot has been improving and evolving as for ML as a scene.
Yep.
I'm just curious, right? In terms of in your opinion, because China's coming into play. You have these wild cards. I mean, on top of that, you have all these other tournament organizers, these publishers wanting to participate.
Yep.
You have the MPLIs, you have yung ESL, and then on top of that, there are many more tournaments that are coming in.
Yeah.
What do you have to say when people are starting to say ML is dying?
Okay. Well, hindi pa. I think I'm pretty sure na last year na foresee ko na may 5 years at least na strong pa rin yung ML. Yeah. It's not dying, it's just esports in general. Nabawasan talaga, stave off talaga yan. So kung nakakita kayo ng lack of viewership sa MLBB, don't worry, hindi lang yan sa MLBB na hindi lang MLBB nabawasan.
Right.
All esports, like even there's significant drop kapag even yung Valorant, diba? We saw even Dota 2 significantly because of I love that game, but you know, Iba talaga yung Dota talaga
Unrequited love.
Unrequited
Yeah.
love talaga yan. But you know what's happening that I think League of Legends medyo na hit din ng kahit
Super,
paano.
super,
Super,
yeah.
right? So to everyone saying that MLBB is dying, it's not true. Kasi actually, yung pag-clip ng number of viewers,
Most hours watched also.
mas mataas pa rin siya than pre-pandemic.
Right.
So, expected na during pandemic, nag-spike lahat ng esports.
Right.
But after the pandemic, also expected na magkakaroon talaga ng dip. But MLBB is quite safe for now.
I do agree
Yep.
I do agree honestly, especially for the side of Indonesia, for example. Indonesia is going insane. Like the hours watched, mas nalalamangan yung mga Valorant championships and so on and so forth. And it's crazy. It's just like regular season.
Right.
And I think parang what really could have caused it is a lot of the so-called quote unquote influencers or your key opinion leaders, they ended up not being able to participate, like your Ako Si Doggies and your Zapnus and so on and so forth. Pero I think same naman. I think the thing is that's why I feel like they're putting so much more hype into the M5, for example. I think more than anything, it's a pride type of thing, and at the same time, parang it encourages everyone in the Philippines to be more attentive in terms of like what MPLPH has to offer, right?
Yeah. Para sa akin, I think the pressure falls dun sa franchise holders, and sadly, kailangan talagang extra effort mag-create ng stories around it. Kasi on the casters end naman, I'm also pressuring yung sa team ko, team namin. Like, when lagi naman pinag-usapan lagi mga storylines, ganyan. Pero kasi parang mas madaling mag-develop ng storylines kapag maingay din yung mga team. So, shoutouts din sa mga teams na ngayon gumagawa ng maraming content. I think mas maingay ganun. Pero syempre, mas maganda pa rin mag-focus dun sa gameplay, di ba?
Tama.
So, yun yung kakaibang pressure na I'm sure nararamdaman nyo as part of the franchise.
Right.
Parang, paano natin babalansehin yung hindi tayo hate ng tao, gagandahan natin yung laro natin at maingay pa rin tayo sa social media.
Right.
So, sobrang importante pa rin yan. Tingin ko, the reason kung ba't din tumaas bigla yung viewership sa MLBB dahil din naman sa content na nagagawa outside ng MPL.
That's true, no? I think yun nga, they're building like an ecosystem just so it can lead back to MPLPH in particular. Right, that's true. Since you mentioned na in terms of that, right? Ikaw, do you see yourself in the MPL maybe like let's say, sabi mo kasi 5 years, diba? Sige, 5 years. But yeah, so 5 years na yon. How old are you?
28. Gising pa.
Sige, going back. So in those 5 years, can you still see yourself in the MPL?
Good question. I honestly thought about this. Baka on one hand, gusto ko na na mag-give chance to others.
Right.
On the other, sa mundo kasi ng basketball, for example, may mga all-time legends eh.
Yeah.
Alam mo yan. I think I want to see myself meron along the way, meron siguro time na titigil ako to do my bucket list na mag-coach full time sa team, siguro along the way. But for now, gusto ko kasi mangyari doon is makip ko yung competence as a caster. Kasi 5 years from now, sure ako, iba na yung humor ng mga tao. Baka hindi na ako makasabay dun sa sa humor. Alam mo yun?
Right.
Siyempre, sometimes wala, may mga cool kids talaga dyan. At ako naniniwala ako na dadating sa point na meron talagang dadating mas magaling. Alam mo yun?
Yeah.
There are rising talents out there. And may gets nila masusurpass nila lahat ng mga nagagawa ko ngayon, lahat ng knowledge na meron ako, mas gagalingan nila yung mga techniques, alam mo yun. So until then, gusto ko na makip ko yung pagiging competent ko. And eventually, dun ko na ipapasa yung torch. Ngayon naman, anytime, I'm willing to pass the torch right now. Since I consider myself a veteran for being part of 12 seasons. Ready naman ako to anyone na gustong kunin yung torch na yun, right? I'm very much open. Pero for now, gusto ko pa rin i-keep, competitive kasi ang tao eh.
Right.
Like, kung hindi ko siya na-achieve as a player, kasi lahat naman tayo gusto natin maging player, di ba?
Right.
Kung hindi ko siya na-achieve maging player, quietly competitive ako as an analyst, right? That's why I make all this crazy stuff, like making an app, for example.
Right.
Interviewing people, making podcasts, learning everything. Studying psychology, whatever, reading books, everything, just to be, alam mo yan, to quote the great Carl Tizzy. Sabi niya, pinapahabol ko lang sila, parang ganun.
Right.
Pero competition basically. Gusto kong talagang itaas yung level ko ng mataas. And also, isa akong goal na hangga't hindi ko siya nagagawa, hindi ako titigil is kunwari ginawa ni Benny Cutie ngayon, he's nominated as esports MLBB player sa esports awards internationally among all esports titles.
Right.
Gusto ko na umabot sa point na nandun na ako, kung hindi man ako yun, at least someone else, na yung MLBB shoutcasters makonsider na nasa top ng mga analyst. Like, they will put it the same level with big PC titles.
Right.
As analyst. Ganun. Yun yung goal ko. Until hindi ko nagagawa yan, guys, hindi pa ako titigil. Yun.
Before we get into the next question, I'd like to give a shout out to one of the office mates of Coach Wolf. Shout outs to Manjin.
Ay,
yes.
nandito ka pala. Ikaw nasa sunod.
Kung if there's Manjin, the face of MPL, we have Wolf, the wallet of MPL.
Ay.
Yan. That's the power of the wallet, boys.
Ay, tunay na wallet yun si Manji. Actually, si Butters talaga yung
Yeah,
undisputed.
The trio, the trilogy, the undefeated.
The big three.
Actually, I have two questions, right?
Okay.
Since you mentioned about this whole legacy and at the same time parang wanting to be someone or being very competitive, but at the same time willingness to pass over the torch.
Yeah.
Do you see anyone that's parang, I can see you as becoming someone like me. Parang ganon.
Madami naman. Like,
Right.
For example, I'm pretty sure si Midnight, I'm pretty sure he's smarter than most and also high level din maglaro. Alam mo yan. Nandyan sila. Actually, yung bagong batch ngayon sa mga nasa MDL,
Right.
sila Glez, sila Antianara, Ingan is there, si Marjosh, Athena,
Right.
as papa ko last time, diba, inimumirate ko lahat. Pero analyst-wise, parang, nakapila, as in talagang alam kong dadating sa point na mas makangatan nila ako. I'm pretty sure about that. Basta i-keep lang nila yung tamang attitude, right? And talagang hindi sila tumigil. And then, bukod pa doon, meron pang, kunwari, si Chantel, Renmar, and ngayon of course, Midnight nandyan. They have their different style naman.
Right.
So, subjectively speaking, pwede nila akong mapalitan anytime just because of the personality that they have.
Right.
Yung parang sarili nilang style, right? So, sa ngayon, I honestly don't know how to answer your question.
Right.
Dahil lang sa fact na anyone can replace me right now. Like, literally.
Right.
Sobrang replaceable sa ngayon.
I mean, funnily enough that you say that, right? But you're one of the people that people want to induct into the Hall of Fame.
Thank you.
Actually, two things. One, what would it mean for you to be part of this so-called Hall of Legends? And number two, I'm curious, if there was no ML, what would Coach Wolf be doing?
Oh.
If there's no such thing as ML.
Wow.
Mm-mm.
Nahin ko na muna yun. Feeling ko, kung walang Dota,
Dota
I
and
can
ML.
easily-
Let's say Dota and ML, yeah.
Oh, damn.
Sige, let's take away esports. Esports as a whole. Oo.
Wow.
Oo.
Okay. I'm so weird kasi nung naging I'm taking up engineering at the same time nag-explore ako ng filmmaking, mga ganun.
Right.
Pero recently nalaman ko na yung tunay na calling ko. I think I'm a hardcore barista ng kape.
Oh.
Feeling ko. Feeling ko.
Okay.
So, kasi yung yung ngayon recently nag-take up ako ng class sa paggawa ng coffee.
Right.
Lahat ng engineering, thermodynamics, whatever,
Right.
mathematics,
Right.
measurement, chemistry, tumatakbo siya sa isip ko habang umaga ng kape. So baka
Right.
yun.
So you'd be
Maging hardcore analyst ako ng kape. Ayan, siguro.
you'd be dedicating and shoutcasting barista. Very
May mga
interesting.
competition din yun.
Yeah,
So,
there is nga may
pwede
mga
yun.
competition din nga.
So siguro yun. What the Hall of Legends is kasalanan to ni Manjin eh. Kasalanan to ni Manjin kasi na-induct siya eh. Lupit niya eh. But I think mas impactful sa akin yung nominations more than the induction itself.
Yeah, I get
The
you.
way that people talk about me, nagulat talaga ako kasi ang daming deserving ngayon. Like, hindi ko nakaka-emotional naman to. Kasi nagulat ako dun sa talaga, dun sa nominations. Like, the fact pa lang na nasama sa usapan, sobrang laking honor na. And then, along the way, people start to enumerate what I was able to do with Mobile Legends. And then,
Right.
Di ko na nga siya inisip eh. Pero, bigla ko na malala, nga pala, no? Ginawa ko nga pala to.
Right.
Like, you're so focused in getting that home run na nagulat ka na lang, madami ka na pala nagawa
Right.
for the team. You just, so, I think para sa akin, ngayon pa lang, panalo na talaga with all of the nominations that people are doing, tagging me and everything, posting about it. The fact pa lang na gumawa kayo ng poster tungkol sa akin na inedit nyo pa, sobrang nakakataba na ng puso na nakakabaliw isipin.
Right.
Yep. So, whatever the result will be, doesn't matter anymore to me. Kasi in fact pa lang na people actually nominated me. Yun pa lang, it already means the world.
Yeah. Actually, that's very interesting, no? Na parang how the influence that you have towards people. Kasi the Hall of Legends are basically reserved for people who've made such an impact, not only to the game, but at the same time, their overall experience towards the game.
Yeah.
And I think them having to exert that much effort kasi it's just them basically showing their appreciation towards you. And I think that's what I find so interesting with the Hall of Legends, right? Na parang without these people, the game, the competitive scene and so on and so forth wouldn't be as meaningful as it would be if we never had these people. And I genuinely want to say thank you actually for coming here kasi
thank you.
I know naman how busy you are and how much your time costs. It's very expensive.
Wow.
Kaya before anything, once again, I want everyone, please, if you do have the time, and personally for me, I also nominated Coach Wolf.
Thank you.
Not just because Coach Wolf has been my coach for the longest time or has been a friend of mine for the longest time, but I feel like, of course, you have your JPs and your Dockies and and for sure may boboto na yan, whatever. But there are people kasi that when you're in the industry and you meet the people behind it who want to make the game grow, and top of that, the community to grow with it. Parang they're the people that are the unsung heroes that no one really notices as much. So I'm just saying na I'm very proud na. Actually, I'm very, very proud of you. Kasi
thank you.
malaking bagay para sa akin na I've been able to work with you. I've been able to experience what it was, what it meant to work with you, whether it be inside and outside of the game. So I'm just happy na you're there, and more than anything, I do believe that you deserve it. Yan.
Huwag naman ganyan. Mapapayak tayo nun eh. Thank you.
No problem. But with that, right, before we end, I just want to say thank you. Everyone at ONIC would like to say thank you for the time. We have a small gift for you. I do hope you enjoy. Yeah.
Yun!
So,
yes!
We have a jersey for you.
Yay!
And of course, our commemorative pin po. So, yan.
Gusto ko pa naman mga pins. I love pins.
Yeah, so...
If I'm allowed to, I'll wear it. Pero baka...
I know, of course. Kasi natabihan na din ako. No worries about it. But it's the least that we can do. More than anything. I hope you enjoyed your time.
Sobra. More.
Next time. Basta susunod, pagbalik na ni Coach Wolf, Hall of Legends na siya. Huwag kayo mag-alala. But before we end, I'd just like to ask, is there anyone you want to shout out? Is there any current events that you, any other events that you want to shout out as well? I don't know.
Shout out sa community, lalo na sa lahat ng mga nag-post. Hindi ko lahat maiisa, lahat ng nagpakita ng support nila, and also took the time na mag-nominate. Yung fact pa lang na gumawa kayo ng post, gumawa kayo ng poster, kahit yung text pa lang, it means the world to me. Nung nasa China ako, extra yung drive na naibigay ninyo because of that. And I've got so many things prepared for you guys. I think cat's out of the bag na rin. Pinagtripan na rin ng mga co-casters ko about dun sa index na lumalabas. I'm gonna make sure that everybody will get more learnings from that. Mas i-explain pa natin. Gagawan natin ng mga explainers yon, lahat ng yon para makatulong sa lahat. Me and the casting team, marami kaming nakaplano for all of you guys, and I hope that you're excited about that. Palakasin natin lalo yung Pinas, yung support natin sa Pinas kasi we need it. Malalakas yung mga lumalakas na yung nasa Indonesia, lumalakas na yung sa ibang bansa. Ano tayo, sabayan natin, kumbaga. And of course, shout out sa Munton actually for kasi just to give you very very quickly lang, Munton allowed, hindi ako magiging Wolf na kilala nyo kung hindi ako inallow ni Munton with all of the experiments that we've been doing ever since. Like nung season 2 nag panel host, tas ang dami pang mga growth after that. So shoutouts to Munton for that. Of course, thank you ONIC ever since season 6. Totoo yan. Nangyari yan. Ginawa natin yung paraan. At ano pa ba? Sino pa ba? And I guess yun na, sa Mineski family, sa One Esports, ayan. Shoutout sa inyo.
Right. Yun. Before we end, I'd like to thank the following. Again, I'd like to thank you for all the time that you spent here. We really appreciate it. We do enjoy the time that we have. But then again, syempre, there will always be more for the next time. Before we close out this podcast, I'd like to thank the following. First and foremost, Anterior Solutions, empowering businesses with software solutions. Isuzu Subic, your responsible partner. Attaché, ready anywhere. KTM Bike Industries, ready to race. Timex Philippines, we don't stop. And last but not the least, Converge Fiber X. If you're a gamer and want better gameplay, change the game, go for a game changer. Ayan. I just want to say thank you again for the time. Again, please come back if you would like to. Of course, we'll ask you again. Siyempre, the next time, times 3 na yung TF. So, I just want to say thank you, everyone. And sige, I just want to tell, before we leave, one last question. Magkano sahod mo?